This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. A tornado touched down in Park Rapids, leaving some buildings and trees damaged. Many residents there say they were caught off guard as a twister like this can be very uncommon for this time of year. Valley News team's Aaron Walling has the story.
Late last night, a tornado touched down here in Park Rapids, Minnesota, and damage was left behind on some of the buildings. But for the residents here, they're just glad no one was hurt.
Coming over here and seeing the damage, it's amazing how it was isolated just to this area, which we're grateful for, because I'm glad that it hit our building at night, not during the day, during services, and it seems it didn't affect any residences.
According to the Hubbard County Sheriff's Office, there were no reported injuries, and the tornado touched down around 10:45 p.m. on Saturday night. Damage was limited to a small area in the town, hitting the Faith Bridge Church, Park Rapids Ford dealership, some power lines, and a few trees.
And buildings can be rebuilt, but it's just good that everybody was safe.
At Faith Bridge, part of their roof was removed during the storm, and there is extensive water damage inside, with metal being strewn to the side as if it was paper. For the residents of Park Rapids, they are showing each other support after the surprise tornado, helping each other clean up after Mother Nature's wrath.
It's been awesome. People have been stopping by as we've been cleaning up, asking if we need any help, getting things tarped up, things cleaned up.
We're just grateful for the outpouring of love from our community, and I think actually this is going to bring us closer together.
The Park Rapids community now focuses on rebuilding. In Park Rapids, Aaron Walling, Valley News Live.
Now, the Grand Forks National Weather Service has released a new information regarding the tornado in Park Rapids. Summer is here now with the latest details. Summer.
Yeah, Nishay, an employee from the National Weather Service in Grand Forks went out and did a damage survey in Park Rapids, and the consensus is that this tornado was an EF1 with estimated peak winds of 100 miles per hour. The good news, this tornado was only on the ground for 1 minute. The bad news, as Aaron talked about, parts of the city did receive some damage. Thankfully, no homes and no people were injured that we are aware of. Now, we had a few tornado reports from Saturday night's storms, one near Langford in Marshall County, South Dakota. Lidgerwood tornado that was reported by law enforcement that was rated an EF0, and then of course the EF1 up in Park Rapids. There were also some wind damage reports and very gusty winds near Lidgerwood. There were 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts reported. And Fergus Falls, take a look at this damage. This tree falling on top of the front of that house. This was in Fergus Falls, sent in by Kara. Coming up, I'll be talking about some rainfall reports and our next First Alert Weather Day.
Thank you so much, Summer. A shooting inside a Minnesota bar has left one woman dead and more than a dozen others injured. Police responded to the reports of shots fired at the bar in St. Paul shortly after midnight on Sunday. So far, authorities have arrested 3 men who were believed to be involved in the shooting. They are currently being treated at a local hospital and will be booked into custody to await possible charges once they are discharged.
Our St. Paul community last night experienced one of the most heartbreaking incidents in any of our memory. To have in one incident a mass shooting right here in our hometown, to have in one incident 15 people struck by gunfire, to have in one incident a young life lost.
Governor Tim Walz also reacted to the shooting, calling it horrific. He also said, quote, Minnesota is keeping in our hearts the family of the young woman killed, the 14 others injured, and the St. Paul neighborhood reeling from this senseless gun violence. Now, the deceased was a woman in her 20s and she has since been identified by police. Law enforcement say it's too soon to speculate on a motive at this time as the investigation is still ongoing. Now, attorneys for a North Dakota man accused of wounding 2 Wisconsin police officers, while he was on the run for an attempted murder charge in Fargo, are petitioning for a jury pool from a different county. 24-year-old Nathaniel Benton of Fargo has pleaded not guilty in the shootings of the 2 Wisconsin police officers. Benton's lawyers are citing local news coverage and social media surrounding police shootings has created too much prejudice among among Waukesha County residents. Benton is also charged with attempted murder in North Dakota for the November 2020 shooting of a Fargo man. Now, Benton faces more than 60 years in prison for the Wisconsin charges. His trial is scheduled for December 6. A passenger plane had to make an emergency landing at LaGuardia Airport in New York yesterday. The Federal Aviation Administration confirmed the safe landing of a Republic Airlines flight around 3 p.m. yesterday following what was called a security incident. The plane made the emergency landing after passengers reported suspicious behavior from one of the passengers, according to a Port Authority spokesperson. Officials said when the passenger was confronted by flight attendants, he became unruly and allegedly claimed he had a device aboard the plane. One of the plane's passengers was taken into custody, according to the airline and federal officials. Southwest Airlines continued to have problems following several cancellations and delays, which started on Friday. Long lines as a result of delays and cancellations continued at Southwest terminals in Dallas, Denver, Chicago, and Baltimore. Southwest canceled more than 1,800 flights over the weekend. The Dallas-based airline is blaming the disruptions on air traffic control issues, bad weather, and staffing shortfalls. New numbers are pointing to a brighter picture in the battle against the coronavirus pandemic in the U.S. While some experts are making bold predictions about this Delta wave ending by Thanksgiving, other doctors like Dr. Fauci are more cautiously optimistic.
Average new infections dropping and hospitalizations declining. Positive progress that has some experts predicting the worst of COVID's Delta-fueled summer surge may be behind us.
If I was trying to put an endpoint on when this Delta wave kind of has moved through the country, it's probably Thanksgiving. We're going to have hopefully a vaccine available for children. And at some point before the end of the year, we probably will have the orally available drug from Merck if things go well.
The latest data from Johns Hopkins University showing the U.S. averaged nearly 96,000 new cases a day over a week ending Friday. That's a 44% drop from a Delta-driven peak average in mid-September. But some experts point out the numbers are still high.
We have to just be careful that we don't prematurely declare victory in many respects. We still have around 68 million people who are eligible to be vaccinated that have not yet gotten vaccinated.
Meanwhile, the national number of people battling the virus in the hospital is more than 67,000 as of Friday, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. That's a 35% drop from last month. But some parts of the country are still struggling. One doctor in Michigan says his hospital is overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients.
I had 6, 7 people sitting in the emergency department waiting for beds at other hospitals that didn't exist, waiting for ambulances that were, 6, 7 hours away from being able to bring them to those places.
I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
COVID-19 vaccines for kids under the age of 5 may not come until next year. That's according to former FDA Chief Dr. Scott Gottlieb. He explains why.
I think there is some indication based on the experience with this vaccine where FDA asked for additional information as well as some feedback that Pfizer has gotten from the agency that the clinical trials in kids ages 6 months to 2 years and then 2 years to 4 years, so it's 2 different trials, could be a little bit larger and a little bit longer in terms of the follow-up period that's required, and that could push it into 2022.
The FDA has called a meeting of its independent vaccine advisors for October 26 to discuss vaccines for children. Later on Valley News Live, Facebook to introduce new features to help protect children and teens using their platforms.
It's 11:51 p.m. and we're still seeing some lingering signs of the rainfall from over the weekend. Now our attention turns to midweek, our next chance of some heavy rain and wind coming Wednesday. I'll have some hour-by-hour details on what we can expect coming up right after the break.